I apologize up front for the lack of audio. The camera was not set to record the audio. I don't know why. This is the TransAmerica Trail in Arkansas toward the west side of the state, specifically the Warloop Road. When you first turn onto the Warloop Road off the blacktop, there's a dead end sign. That's not so. You can go through. It threw us off for a few minutes, then we decided to go and see. This footage was shot on Friday, July 9th, 2021. We arrived at the east end of Warloop Road at about 2 o'clock. We'd started the day in Clinton, Arkansas, pulling out at about 6:30 and arrived in OR for lunch at about 11:30. I should have filled up with gas there, but I didn't think about it, so we made a very short detour later on down to Turner Bend. The entire trip from Clinton to the beginning of Warloop Road was casual riding, with the biggest obstacle being freshly dumped gravel on some of the Forest Service roads. In fact, a minivan could have accompanied us that far with no issues. This fella coming up was repairing the road with his tractor, equipped with a rear 3-point hitch scoop. I don't know where he lived, but you could tell he'd been working on it for quite some distance. As you go on, the road keeps deteriorating as the slope increases and the water would wash ruts into it. Eventually it'd be impassable for anything but a high clearance four-wheel drive. I'd estimate the length of the most difficult section to be about a mile. I was riding my XT250 Yamaha and my buddy David was riding his KLR 650. Both bikes made an easy pass through. I suspect even the big bikes with a confident rider could pass without issue. Going east to west is downhill. West to east going uphill would have been a little more challenging, but not impassable. Even down here you can see where the fellow has been using his tractor to fill in the ruts carved by the water. Here again is tractor work. Here's where it starts to get a little more challenging. But as you can see, I'm still able to move along at a decent pace and sitting the whole time. Never felt like there was a need to stand on the pegs for control. Just wasn't a big deal. And we're coming up on the most challenging section. You can see it drops off rather quickly. But even through this, it was just not a big deal. Just fun. You can see here someone has poured some concrete through parts of this, I assume to stabilize it. There's some of the concrete. And at the end of the concrete, there's kind of a drop off, and you'll notice that I take a left-hand swing around the end. And we're just about through the most difficult portion. Here I stop just to make sure Dave's not having a problem and hasn't stopped, and there he is behind me. You can see in my mirror. Most of the day was pretty dusty, and so he had to hang back just because of the dust. So here things start to smooth out and it gets pretty flat, and just ahead I notice a fifth wheel camper sitting next to a house, and that's when I knew there must be another way in and out of here, and so we continued on. And here we're only 3 or 4 minutes from pavement again, where we turn south to Alma for the evening. But earlier in the day we ran across a timber rattler. When we first saw him, he was as straight as a stick and barely moving, just like a worm. The bikes going by didn't bother him. and my presence about 8 feet away didn't bother him. I had to kick a lot of gravel to get his attention. He was about 40 inches long, both impressive and intimidating, and we left him to continue his slow scoot across the road and continued on our journey.